Hello everybody, welcome back to Brit and Jacob Go to the Movies. We are doing the Thor-a-thon, part 2. We're gonna be talking about Thor: The Dark World, and we prepared for the occasion. We're actually watching each other on screen here. You guys can't see it though, because I'm just screen recording. But I'm Britton.
And I'm Jacob.
And today we're gonna be talking about Thor: The Dark World. We got the Thor expert, the big Thor superfan and friend of the show, Taheg Gloder. Say hello again to the audience.
Hello again, everyone. I'm here this week fighting for my fucking life as I try to defend this film with these two absolute haters I'm partied up with.
Okay, so I got a little story for you guys for this week. All right, I got a little story. Okay, so I watched the new episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I liked it. I'm like, that was really good. And then I thought, man, should I watch Thor: The Dark World? Because we all agreed we were going to rewatch it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to see if my dislike of this movie was warranted. Or if maybe I was just being too hard on it. So I watch it. Still don't like it. But I had more fun with it this time. So, points for that. But it was still not good. I didn't care for it, let's just say. But it was fun to watch. It was more fun this time. It's just like, good times. What do you guys think?
Should we get all the negativity out of the way, Jacob? Do you want to
Oh boy.
pile on first and then I'll defend?
Oh boy. Yeah, I rewatched it actually yesterday. I was actually pretty high on Saturday, so I watched it while it was semi-high, so that was kind of fun. But yeah, I rewatched it and it still sucks. I will say I don't think it's the worst. It's a close second. I think Captain Marvel might be my least favorite MCU movie. Sorry, but Thor: The Dark World, it still sucks. I'm just gonna throw out a bunch of adjectives: boring, bland, disjointed, no personality, just dull. I will say it is better directed than the first one, and no Dutch angles. So there you go.
God damn those Dutch angles. Oh, I mean,
and Chris Hemsworth doesn't have blonde eyebrows in this one, so
Yes.
there you go. But
One thing I'll say is just, in general, the aesthetic of this film is like 600 steps above the first one.
Oh, absolutely.
I will agree with that,
Thor
yeah.
looks better. The friggin' Dark Elves look amazing, even though they're criminally underused. The whole kind of science fantasy vibe is dialed up to 11, which is kind of a double-edged sword, because when they were really going in hard on the whole, Asgardians are just aliens, they're not gods thing, which led to a really cool look for the film, but was then immediately ignored for every film that follows it, because they realized it was fucking dumb. Which, yeah, that is one big strike against the movie, but it's sort of a strike for and against. So, yeah.
Ty, what do you think of it? Did it still like? I know you're more lenient on this film than Jake and I. What do you think about it? Did you change your mind? Do you feel the same way?
I still like the film.
Oh, okay.
I really like it. Like, I would say it's very much a middle ground MCU film. It's nowhere close to the best, but it's nowhere even near the worst. I mean, Captain Marvel is way worse. Eternals was a film that's so boring I forgot what was happening as I was watching the film. Ant-Man and Wasp has the most forgettable villain in the MCU.
That's
which,
true,
considering how
yeah.
bad most of the MCU villains are, is fucking saying something. Black Widow
Wait,
ruined
even
Taskmaster.
over Yellow Jacket,
Yeah.
he's the worst MCU villain though.
The rest of the film was all right, and he worked as quite a good foil to like Scott in that film, so it kind of worked there. My problem with Ghost is that they got a really great actress and just gave her such a nothing character to play. There was no real investment to her in the film. There was no real like clash between her and the heroes. It was just like, why are you here? You're just here because we need someone to fill in the blanks while we introduce the quantum realm. Like, you could almost lift her out of the film and it wouldn't change the film. I'm saying this knowing full well I watched the film about a week after it came out and haven't watched it again since. I may be completely wrong, but from my vague recollections of the film, the only good thing about her was that she's fucking fit and nothing else. She gave nothing else to the film. Like, if you want to see Hannah John Cameron being awesome, watch Killjoys and just pretends that she was never in Ant-Man.
I mean, I'll be nice and say that, okay, maybe this is not the worst MCU film, but not one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's fair.
Don't care for it.
One thing I will say, and this may be a little controversial, but watching it again now, maybe I'll change my opinion next week, but I will say it. I feel like Dark World gets the balance of comedy and drama way better than both of the other Thor films. First film is it's shaky. I think we trod that ground pretty well last week. We don't need to touch that again. As we will cover next week, I really like Ragnarok, but there are some scenes that had jokes that should not have had jokes. This film has great jokes, really funny scenes. It also has some really sad scenes, and it lets the funny scenes be funny, and it lets the sad scenes be sad. And I think that's a balance that not a lot of no other Thor film really hits, and quite a few of the other MCU films just don't quite manage to hit.
Yeah, and here's the thing.
It deserves credit for that.
It was co-written by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely. Sorry. These dudes wrote some of the best MCU movies. What happened here? I mean, talk awful pacing, terrible villain, just awful. They got Carter Burwell to help with the. Are you kidding me? How did they sucker him in from the last Coen Brothers film?
It's a fucking mess.
Oh my god.
That is like, as much as I will be defending this film over the next probably 6 hours that we debate this, one thing I will say is the third act is a fucking mess.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Yeah, like, there's no repairing that. We can discuss that in more depth later on, but as much as I will defend the first kind of hour and 20 minutes
now,
of this
if
film,
I were feeling a little more...
30,
Oh, sorry.
After the back end just all falls apart. But again, that is a very common recurring problem with a lot of MCU films. We can't really hold that against Dark World when basically like 90% of the other MCU films fall into the exact same trap.
If I were spicier today, I would say this is probably one of the worst MCU villains, but I'm not feeling too spicy today. Or at least I'm not feeling too spicy right now. I will say, this is one of the lesser ones.
Yeah.
There's a couple of memorable...
One of the best ones.
There are a couple of memorable scenes in this, but aside from that...
I don't remember anything.
I know, I was like... I remember, I was like, oh boy, I hope I don't struggle to remember what happens while we're talking about it. Because I watch it on Wednesday, and I have a pretty good memory of usually what happens during movies. But then I was like, yesterday, I'm like, ah, crap. I hope I don't forget all the things I want to talk about all this movie.
That would be a little worrying. But it's not quite Eternals forgettable. I'm sure once we start going through it, it'll jog your memory.
Yeah, I agree. Eternals is very forgettable. Thor: The Dark World, I remember like 2 scenes from it. That's it. I actually dozed off when I was rewatching it. I told Brit this.
Yeah, you told me that. I was like, oh my god.
Wow, that's pretty bad.
I mean, it's not like Fan 4 sick where I just straight up fell asleep for 5 minutes, but I still dozed off. So.
I thought you were... I guess you got so angry it just tired you out during Fan 4 stick, and it tired, and you just went to sleep.
You just hate watching it to spite yourself. It's so fucking bad.
Ugh. I think this movie's way better than Fan 4 Stick, but that... by a long mile. But,
I think the last time a film has angered me as much as Fan 4 Stick. I'm thinking possibly...
Rise of Skywalker pissed. That's the last film I remember that really made me mad.
No, Dark Tower, the Stephen King adaptation.
Oh, yeah.
I was fucking furious for like 75% of that film.
So
bad.
So yeah, let's get into this puppy. That sounds bad, but let's get into this movie. Oh god. So we get another Diet Lord of the Rings. Another Diet Lord of the Rings just beginners pack where Odin explains all the stuff that goes down. I will say the battle scene is kind of better this time. It looks way better. It does not look like a bad version of Helm's Deep this time. It looks like a really good trailer for a Thor video game. Which, by the way, come on, Marvel, make that happen.
I know.
But
Spider-Man really took off. They were like, oh yeah, we're making a lot. We kind of a Wolverine announcement, which is just the same thing but with claws. I was like, come on, we need a proper God of War style Thor game. That would be so epic.
Yes.
Oh my god, that would be great.
Not gonna fucking happen.
Though, to be fair, it looks like if this were like a video game trailer, I'd be like hyping all over it on Twitter. But for a movie, it's fine. It's way better than the first, but you know.
Yeah.
I'll give it that, but that's kind of a low bar.
It is. Yeah.
The first movie was so bland in comparison. Ugh. We also meet Malekith, and apparently this guy is supposed to be like one of Thor's just like big baddies in this.
Oh yeah.
So what happens? Oh, he gets like a couple of lines of like nonsense elf language and really atrocious dialogue, which I'll get into as we get into the movie. I got some opinions on that, boys. You'll see some veins popping by that time. But oh god.
Malekith, Jesus.
So Malekith and Dr. Echo from Lost. I know he has another name which I can't pronounce, so we'll just call him Dr. Echo. I hope that sounds good to you guys. I don't know if you've watched Lost.
Speaking of terrible writing, yeah.
Yeah. I guess, so they fight. Odin's father, Bor, creative name, I know, just gets his, like, little spear thing and just starts evaporating a bunch of elves. And I guess Malekith, played by Christopher Eccleston, I guess this worries him, so he decides to go on his spaceship and, like, firebomb the planet? He, like, takes this thing called the Aether from him, and then he, like, firebombs the planet, and then he, like, fucks off, and that's the beginning of the movie. And, oh yeah, and Bor's like, we have to stop this from ever being found. We gotta hide it somewhere where no one will find it, and hopefully it won't bite us in the ass in thousands of years from now. And that's the start of the movie.
It seems while Bor may have lots of powers, foresight is not one of them.
I know, it's just like...
Stayed on Earth.
It's just, I know, it's just such a... It's so weird.
Yeah.
At best, it looks like a really good video game trailer, and at worst, it's just like, oh god, what is this? What's going on here?
2010s era CGI-based movie.
It's like Malekith just, like, decides to be like... He just, like, decides to fuck off, and then he gets his, and he gets, like... And then he goes in the suspended animation or something. Alien style, too. What do you guys think of this beginning part? I'll start with you, Jacob.
Oh boy. It is.
Is this where you fell asleep?
Wait, what?
Is this where you almost passed out?
I tried to stay awake. I tried to stay awake as long as possible. But the action is better than the first, but it's still abysmal for me.
It's still pretty bad.
Malekith for me, in my opinion, the worst MCU villain.
Oh, agreed.
Yes.
Hard agreed.
Even over Yellow Jacket or most of the Ant-Man villains, and they're abysmal. But
Yellow Jacket's still the worst for me, but yeah, Malekith's up there.
like Malekith, the reason why he fucking sucked, not only do they fucking completely wasted a badass Thor villain, but he's just utterly forgettable. I had to look up what his name was because I just call him the elf villain because it's just so forgettable.
So Taheg, sorry. Taheg, you're a big Thor guy. What are your thoughts on the beginning of this movie?
It's just, you can see what they're trying to do. It's really obvious, quite ham-handed foreshadowing, because basically the whole thing is like, it's the convergence, let's get our convergence on, and that means we can use the ether, which is literally that's just the story of the entire film right there. And so Bor turns up and gets his Gungnir on and murders everyone, and damn, they wasted enough time, so now the convergence is over, so I'm gonna hide, which is how the film ends. I can see what you're trying to do, but despite the film opening with a massive info dump, you still didn't really explain what was going on in that one pivotal scene. So the foreshadowing kind of falls apart because no one understands that what's happening now is a mirror to what happens at the end. So it just seems like a really weird...
Oh, I didn't even think of that. I was about to say, it's like reading a bad fantasy novel that's just being lazy and just info dumping. It's so bad. Yeah. It's just like...
For me, there is nothing better than really perfectly executed foreshadowing. The better the payoff at the end, and the more subtle the kind of breadcrumbing, the better it like when you get that moment when you're like, oh shit, that was the thing they were talking about earlier. That's one of my favourite moments in all of cinema. It did not happen to me this time because only on about I'm not kidding here. It's only on about the third or fourth rewatch of this film, that's not today, that I actually realised what they were doing. And it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, were they trying to do that? Why didn't they do that properly? It could have been great. But yeah. And then, because really, if you go back and watch, like, really the first two phases, it's a long and sad history of getting brilliant actors, giving them great characters, and then ruining them. Let us never forget the first Avenger gave us Hugo Weaving as Red Skull.
Oh, he was actually good in that movie.
He swore off the film altogether and has never been back.
He was good in that movie.
He was all right, but he could have been so much better.
I liked him in that movie. Better. I liked him in that movie. What? No, what? Fine. I think he killed it as Red Skull, but you know what? I won't argue.
Yeah, that's a story for another podcast.
I think First Avengers is an underrated movie, but that's beside the point. We're talking about the Dark World. What do you think of Malekith? Since he's such an iconic Thor villain.
Here's my thing, and it actually goes back to one of my big problems with this film and with Ragnarok, and more than likely with Love and Thunder. There are Thor villains that are perfectly suited for this kind of grim, dark, grey movie. Malekith is not one of them.
Oh yeah, I forgot the color palette is so lazy in this movie, but we'll get to that.
Like it's a very dark. It's all black and red and grey, except for the bits on Asgard, which are Asgard coloured, and the bits in London, which are actually no, they're all dark and grey because we're in London and it's dark and grey here. But whatever. So. There are films that are made for this kind of Thor villain. Much like Gore the God Butcher.
Didn't Gore the God Butcher come before? Didn't he come after this, or was he before this?
Grey. He is the villain in Love and Thunder, which is apparently a detective rom-com, which is 3 words that should not be applied to the Gore saga. If this film had been exactly as it was, but had been with Gore, it would have been 1,000 times better because it would have made fucking sense. And then, if you'd taken Malekith and put him into like a Waititi-era Thor film, that would have been fantastic. Because if there are words to describe Malekith, they're bright, they're colourful, they're camp, they're funny, insane.
Madcap.
Yeah, exactly. If they'd got Taika Waititi to direct a Malekith movie, and you know what, fuck it. If they've got Taika Waititi to play Malekith in a Thor movie,
that would be
have
something.
been amazing. That would be so fucking good. Anyone out there that's in Free Guy, you know he can play a brilliantly, crazily arrogant bastard of a villain. He would have been perfect.
This was actually the episode we covered before we started the Thor-a-thon.
I remember. He was great.
He was great. He was.
But with, you know, a bit of fancy hair and some knives, perfect fucking Malekith. Fuck up half his face, it's all good. Then, if you want to do what he's doing in his next films, you bring in Thor, you bring in Valkyrie, bring in Thor, bring in Hulk, have that as the League of Realms, which is the group that Thor created to fight Malekith when he was rampaging across the Nine Realms, fucking everyone up.
You know,
it would have been perfect.
You know, it would have been my, it makes me think that they haven't introduced my favorite Thor character yet, Beta Ray Bill. Where the fuck is Beta Ray Bill?
Perfect for the League of Realms.
Oh, sorry,
The
Jacob.
League of Realms is just an excuse for Taika or whoever they got to write and directed to just gather all their favourite kind of tertiary Thor characters, put them all in a film. Okay, throw in the Guardians, why the hell not? And just do like a ridiculous cosmic road trip battle movie. It would have been brilliant. And then you could have had Taika just chewing the fucking scenery as Malekith, being as utterly unhinged as he wanted, and it would have been perfect. But no, we didn't get that. We got a depressing, grey, monotone Malekith, and now apparently we're getting a rom-com Gore, ruining both characters in the process, when they could have swapped them, and it would have been, like, gold.
Didn't Gore come after this, or was he before this? No, I think he came right before this, didn't he?
Yeah. Gore arrived, fucked up Thor. Then we had the League of the Realms was formed. Then Original Sin, when Thor lost his hammer.
No, I mean the movie.
Then War of the Realms.
No, I mean this movie. It came after Gore, the God Butcher arc, right?
I can't remember. I think so.
Okay.
Though you know what? I think it was kind of concurrent. So they probably couldn't have done Gore. All they could have just pushed it, I suppose. Done a second film, then done Gore as the third, and League of Realms as the fourth.
So what do you think, Jacob, about, or we already kind of mentioned it, but what do you think about Malekith, aside from what we've already said?
Worst MCU villain, in my opinion. Not only is he just, like, painfully forgettable, his whole motivation and his whole evil plan is just, like, basically just him, like, wait. That's it. That was his entire plan. It was so fucking stupid. So fucking stupid.
I love in the movie how, like, one of the elves, I guess, was just, like, waiting around for, the Aether to be reactivated or whatever, and then they, like, get Malekith out of there, and they're like, hey, it's the thing, it's the thing. He's like, oh, yes. And then he, like, walk. And, oh, yeah, how about wasting Christopher Eccleston, the Ninth Doctor? This dude is, like, they're, like, pros at wasting, or, well, I guess they didn't waste him in Doctor Who. I do wish he had more time, but, that's just that's more of a personal preference than they wasted him.
Yeah.
He had some amazing freaking episodes.
Oh my god! Dalek is still one of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who.
Hell yeah.
And still no Beta Ray Bill in the MCU.
I know, I'm so mad. They don't have Beta Ray Bill yet. He's one of my favorite Thor characters. He's he's like a weird dinosaur guy who, like, beat up Thor one time and got his own hammer.
Yep.
You could do so much with that! Anyways, back to this film. This movie...
Jack Horseman's roid rage cousin.
This movie is just... oh yeah, the colors are just not good. Not good. They're competent, but it's not grainy, gray... until we get to, like, Asgard, and that's about it. Oh. Then we get to Asgard. Here, we're at the next part. Now we're at Asgard, and guess who shows up? But our boy... Loki. you know, can't have a good Thor movie without Loki, unless he gets, like, strangled in the opening minutes of Infinity War. Spoilers. Anyway. So... then we'll get to the part where I'm most conflicted. Anthony Hopkins as Odin in this film. Odin is such a dick in this film. Like, Loki's all mad, and he's like angsting, and he's all like, "It's 'cause I allow it!" It's like, whoa, dude, chill. Like, don't have a stroke. Don't have a stroke up on the... And then he's like raging out when Frigga dies later, but that's for later. This film is horribly paced, but okay, so Loki gets up, and he's like doing his little song and dance, and Loki is like, "I spared you 'cause I willed it!" And it's like... And you're just kind of like, oh, okay, well... What is Anthony Hopkins' performance in this movie? He's like angry, or he's just being a total dick. I just blame this on the writing mostly, because the writing in this film is just not good.
It's a biz.
Ugh. What do you think? What do you think about this? What do you think about this scene, Taheg?
I think the big issue with Odin in it, because he goes from being kind of a stern father figure, like a bit of a dickhead, but not horrific in the first film, to just being an absolute tool in the second. Because, as we sort of just half covered, I think this was being released concurrent with the Thor era, where Odin was being a massive tool to everyone. And I think they were trying to make movie Odin a bit closer to his comic counterparts. But with no real there was no arc to it. It was just, he got really angry and bored one day and woke up and he just woke up that morning and chose violence. Like, there's no real reason to why he's suddenly being a dick to everyone.
Yeah, and like Frigga's standing there and she's like all sad, and Loki's standing there and he's just like doing his little thing, and Thor is just like, oh god.
Yeah, Thor just wants to be off with Jane. He's checked out. But yeah, like, it's not the worst performance I've seen either of them give.
Oh no.
It's not the best either.
Oh no. Oh wait, no. We meet Thor later, but yeah, Loki stands in prison and he's like, "You're gonna go to jail," and he's like, "Okay," and like Anthony Hopkins like overacts and just starts like getting angry, and then he like threatens, and then he just like puts him in jail, and that's about it. I don't know. You got any thoughts, other guys?
No, pretty much covered it there. It's a little bit nonsensical, but it very much feels like they just needed a way to go from where the scene was to Loki being in jail to set up things that happen later on in the film.
I do have.
I think it's kind of weird watching this without watching Avengers between, because you literally go from Loki sort of falling off the Bifrost to being like sort of haunting Selvig to being in an Asgardian prison. It's like, where was the jump there?
Oh, what were you saying, Jacob?
I will say I do have quite a bit to say about Loki in this, but I'll wait.
What do you think about Anthony Hopkins in this scene?
Total dick. To the point where I want to bitch slap him. So there you go.
It's like, this is such a like uncharacteristically weird performance from Anthony Hopkins. Because he's usually really good. Even in the first one, he's pretty good in this movie. Like, he's pretty good in that movie. In this one, it's just really he's either overacting or, like, getting angry. And, like, he's just gonna wipe out... He's, like, threatening to commit genocide against the Dark Elves. It's, like... It's really weird. He has no arc in this movie.
No, he's just there. That's it.
Oh, my God. Okay. So, on the meanwhile, we end up seeing an actually competent-looking fight scene. Oh, what is this? Oh, a competent fight scene? With personality? And characters being likable? What is this?
The Warriors 3 actually doing something
Yes!
for the only time in the entire trilogy.
Oh my god, yes. And they're like fighting, and Sif is like, you know, hanging out, and, you know, she's fighting as well. She's looking fit as fuck, by the way. If I made like a top 10 like hottest MCU women, I would definitely put Jaime Alexander on there.
Top 5 for me.
It's a top 10, not top 5.
So yeah, they're actually like fighting, and they're like actually having personality and being like they had personality in the first movie, yeah, but it's like, oh wow, like this is likable. I like this. I like they're joking with each other while they're, you know, killing bad guy. Like, oh, this is feeling like a Thor thing. And then bam, Thor shows up like a fucking boss. He looks a lot better, much better intro. I will give him this. Much better intro
Yes.
than much better intro and much better eyebrows than the first one.
Considerably so, yeah.
And and Sif is like, hey, glad you, or she says something like, oh, wish you could have come earlier, and he's all like, yeah, whatever. And they're like, and then they're like, you know, fighting. It's apparently Hogan's homeland of Vanaheim as well, so there's that. And it's an actually competent fight scene. Like it looks like Braveheart. Well, maybe it's not as good as Braveheart. That might be highballing it a bit. But I did get some Braveheart vibes.
It's like a really good straight-to-video sort of copy of Braveheart.
Yeah.
It's not quite as good as Braveheart, but if they made a film that was sort of like Braveheart, but a bit cheaper, but as good as it could be for that money, that's what this looked like.
Yep.
Yeah, so then he shows up, and then their champion shows up, which is a rock man. I forget his name. I forget what the species is called, but it's one of Korg's people, which, oh boy, I can't wait to talk about Korg in the next episode, because I love him. But, but yeah, this one looks more scary than Korg, and he, like, walks up, and he, like, looks threatening, and Thor just kind of looks around. He doesn't even try. He just knocks this dude right at. He, like, destroys this guy. I'm so glad he didn't say that cheesy line, oh, you're big, fought bigger, and then blows it up. Nah.
But at the same time, it's almost worse, because he says, like, this is your chance to surrender.
Oh, yeah. He's like, you can surrender and, you know, leave your piece or whatever, and they're all like, no!
And then he fucking drops that line again later.
Yep.
But so badly that you don't realise he's doing another callback. It's like, please stop. Either do the callbacks properly or don't do them at all. Don't just half-ass them to the point you don't realise it's a callback.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, after that little skirmish, it turns out it was a final battle in a war to pacify the Nine Realms because the Bifrost got ruined in the last movie. Oh yeah, they rebuilt the Bifrost, by the way. That happened. The Rainbow Bridge got fixed, so... Okay.
It happened because... magic?
Yeah.
Ancient...
Oh, I gotta say this about Sif, though. Sif is thirsting big time over Thor.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, she's giving him the I want that dick vibe every scene in this movie. There's actually a couple of times in this movie where multiple characters are like looking at him like, I want to ravish you.
Hashtag big dick energy.
He knows how to use his hammer.
Yep. There you go.
So they leave Hogan and they end up having a little party. And this is the part where I'm like, oh my lord, Sif is thirsting big time over Thor. Like, she wants some of that God of Thunder. I'm just saying. His little God of Thunder.
Love and thunder.
His love and thunder.
I see what you did there.
Oh yeah.
Damn you, So, yeah, they leave Hogan there, because Hogan's actually from Vanaheim, and they end up returning back, and Thor is kind of simping over Jane, and Odin just basically waves him off like, don't worry yourself with those immortals. When you said earlier that we...
Although, as a general, as you have mentioned a few times, I can't really disagree. The script for this film at points is fucking terrible. There's so many lines where someone says it and I'm just like, mate, even if you paid me, I wouldn't be on record as saying that. But to counterbalance, there are a couple of lines where I'm like, oh, that's some pretty good wordplay there. Well done. You rubbed your two brain cells together and came up with something quite good there. And that scene features one of them where he's giving Thor the business. He's instructing him on how not to thirst after essentially gnats. And he says, I'm not speaking as the All-Father, I'm speaking as your father. It's like, hey, that's actually not bad.
That must have been... Played. I'll just put it this way. Let's just think that the good lines are from Marcus and McFeely, and the bad lines are from Christopher Yost, because apparently they all wrote this movie. Oh, wait, he wrote Thor Ragnarok. And he also wrote for The Mandalorian. Okay, this guy isn't that bad. I don't know what happened here. These are three talented people.
That's the weird part. It's like very talented writing staff, strong director, strong cast. But it all feels less than the sum of its parts. It's like, with this lineup, you could have done something a lot better. I just think they chose to do it about the wrong thing, and that fucked everything up. Like, it's as good as it could possibly have been, given that you kind of took a lot of great little bits and put them together incorrectly.
Yeah, it just felt like they weren't even trying. Like, great director, Alan Taylor, though he made Terminator Genesis, which I thought was abysmal. But the writers of the film, really good, actually. I don't know what the hell happened here. As Britton said, what the hell happened here? Because the writing in this film, for the most part, is just horrendous.
Like, there's no arcs for the characters, really. It's more like... It's more the same from Thor, where Thor, like, tries to find, like, honor for himself. Or something dumb like that, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So, on the meanwhile, Jane Foster is trying to move on from Thor in a way by going on a date with this dude. And it actually kind of starts out pretty charming. And then it just quickly derails.
Enter Darcy.
Oh my lord. I actually like Darcy in this movie, but it kind of went on too long, you know?
Yeah.
She's like, oh, is this the new guy? And then she, like, looks over and mouths, he's cute. And then, like, sits down and starts, like, asking around. And it's just like, this started out nice, but, this is not going good.
Yeah, I can see what they were going for, but it just, much like with a lot of this film, it just doesn't quite play out the way it should. It's like 70% of the way there, and then just fails at the last stretch, as with a lot of this film. But I do really like that actor. He's quite a sort of famous comedic TV actor over here, so it's kind of weird seeing him show up in Thor. He played his character as well as he could. And again, he's mostly just setting up. That whole first scene just feels like it's setting up stuff that pays off later on.
I will say, though,
doesn't quite work.
I don't mean to get ranty, and as Jacob and I have said, and as I know, I tend to get icky when I criticize actors, but Natalie Portman's performance in this movie, I hate her performance in this movie. I genuinely hate it. I hate it. It is so bad. Like, it is just... Okay, so this is supposed to be a character who's, like, really smart and, driven and whatnot. Every freaking time she sees Thor, or she's, like, in Asgard, she acts like a child. And it's annoying. And I don't like it. She acts so goo-goo over Thor, and it's so bad. It's just... Ugh. Oh, hate this.
I have to
hate
agree.
I hate it.
I have to agree, and I'm like Britton. Britton knows I don't like criticizing actors. I know how hard their job is. It just makes me feel icky every time. But I do agree, Natalie Portman is not. She's bad in this film, and she's a great actress.
Oscar winner.
She's really bad in this film, and yeah,
I know exactly what happens.
Yeah,
she didn't want to be there. She saw the script, saw it was garbage, didn't want to do it, but was contractually obliged to. So she just put in the minimal possible effort in every scene.
Yep.
And that's why she didn't come back for Ragnarok, and she refused to come back unless they gave her a proper part and a proper arc, and actually gave her a role worth playing.
I mean, Love and Thunder, her role actually looks good in it. Yes. Ugh. I hate her performance in this movie.
Portman is that no personality whatsoever.
Oh my good lord. Like, she says like a couple of snappy lines that definitely weren't written by Joss Whedon, because the script in this movie is a fucking nightmare. But aside from that, what's her character arc in this movie? Oh, she has the, like, ether in her, or whatever the hell it's called. The devil ether. Or she's, like, goo-gooing over Asgard and Thor. And it is awful.
It's bad.
It's so bad!
I've gone with quite a strong sort of fish out of water arc for her. Like, she's a scientist, you know, she's a multiple, like, degree holder. She's a super genius. Firm believer in science, astrophysicist, knows all about that kind of shit. Dropping her off in Asgard, which is this very kind of, science fantasy, super cool, magical technology world. They kind of do it when they strap her into the totally not a science bench, astro forge, whatever the fuck they call it. And she's like, oh yeah, it's a matter transponder. Right, it does this, and that means it's this. It's like, okay, do more of that. Make it really kind of highlight her intellect and show that even though this stuff is all fancy and godlike, it actually can be broken down in ways that are understandable to a human mind.
Exactly.
So they kind of just do it once, kind of badly, and then just don't bring it up again. And it kind of feels like they wanted to do a sort of fish out of water arc, but again, just didn't really execute it as well as they could.
So,
it just didn't work.
Oh, sorry. What were you saying, Jacob?
I was agreeing with Ty. It just didn't work. The fish out of water. They were trying to do with Natalie Portman with Jane, but it just didn't work.
So okay. Darcy decides to take Jane on a little trip because apparently they've discovered this like place where like objects disappear. You like drop something and it disappears, and then we meet this dude called Ian, who is just the most cliched, obnoxiously so, awkward intern. I hate him. I wanted him to get crushed by one of the buildings in that final battle scene. I hated him so much. And not for any particular reason. Rather than, that was the only time I actually thought he was kind of charming, is when him and Darcy made out there for a sec. That was it. I hate that. It's like, why? Why?
I think well, if we're going to set the film in London, we need to put at least one British person in, and they couldn't afford a whole film with the boyfriend. So we'll give her an intern. It'll be fine. He can just kind of British over everything. It'll be okay. But it wasn't.
Yeah, they keep like mistaking his name, and it's so cringeworthy. Oh my god,
everyone just calls him the intern. It's like, hey, we get it. He's an intern. Please stop.
Please, he's the intern everyone makes fun of, and I hate that trope so much. It's just, it's so dumb. Like, ugh.
It's old.
Exactly. Though we end up figuring out how Selvig's been doing, which is actually one of my favorite parts of the movie. Apparently, being mind-controlled by Loki is not a fun thing, because that usually means that afterwards you'll strip butt-ass naked at Stonehenge and run around harassing people with scientific equipment.
Yeah, Stonehenge.
But that was actually pretty funny. But aside from that, so she leads him to this place where you can drop objects and it just kind of vanishes and then he drops. And I'm like, huh. I think that would act like some kids end up showing up. And I'm like, oh wow, that would actually make a really interesting movie. Get like Steven Spielberg to direct it. Could make a good movie out of that. But no, it's just like this thing, and and Jane just does that stupid horror movie thing when this movie decides to become a horror movie for 5 minutes. She goes like, "Oh, what's this? Oh, what is this?" And then she ends up transporting, and then she touches it, and gets transported to this like realm place, whatever.
Yes, into the Dark World.
The Dark World. Oh.
The title's in the movie.
It's so bad, and she's like looking around, and she like touches it, and then she gets like corrupted or something. It's so bad. It is so bad.
Now you can tell that all her degrees, none of them are in chemistry, because she does not follow the scientific method at all. There was no lab safety involved there. It's a good scene. It's funny. There's some good jokes. It's an intriguing concept. But it's just one of those things where it's that age-old problem where the MacGuffin character, who in this case is Jane, does something massively out of character because it's required to move the plot.
She just says something that's stupid.
Yeah. And it's not something that any fucking, triple degree level scientist would ever do. Because it's just, criminally, ferociously dangerous. It's a mysterious force. That obviously looks a bit sinister. Why fucking touch it?
In all honesty, I wish they'd have just made a movie about the kids. I wish they would have started the movie with the kids, dropping those things, and then, Thor shows up, and then they, make it into, a little thing. What if Steven Spielberg made a superhero movie? That would have been a way better movie than what we got.
It would be E.T.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
It would be E.T.
For Jane, if you're supposed to be so smart, why would you in your right mind decide to touch this thing that you have no idea what the fuck it would do?
Oh my god.
It makes no fucking sense at all.
So bad. And then Thor, I guess it attracts Thor. Oh yes, so Thor is at a party with his mates and Sif, who as I mentioned earlier, she just wants to she wants some of that ass, She wants some of that. She wants some of that Asgardian meat, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink. But he's all. But Thor's all like, I kind of feel like knowing how Jane's doing. Just cause. Then he walks over to.
Implied he does that most evenings.
So he goes over to Heimdall, who actually is, ironically enough, he is more useful in this movie than he was in the last one.
Yep.
But oh my god. Okay, so Heimdall can't see Jane. And I can assume it's because she has the aether in her or something like that, but it's never explained.
The Dark World.
It's never explained.
It's because he can't see her when she's in the Dark World, because that's the banished realm.
Oh.
I think she's essentially within the power of an Infinity Stone at that point, so she's beyond his vision.
Still dumb, but okay,
Yeah.
good.
I'm that's just kind of my assumption. I'm not 100% sure that's true. It's just kind of slightly inferred from context.
Oh my god. So, okay. So Heimdall can't see her, but don't worry, because I guess the Dark World just decides, we're gonna let her go now. And she just, arrives back, and she's been gone for, 5 hours. And then Darcy's like, where the hell were you? You were gone. And then she does the Joss Whedon, which is the definitely not written by Joss Whedon line, where she's like, oh, all the FBI, why'd you call the cops? Because then the FBI and CIA and everybody's going to show up, and then S.H.I.E.L.D.'s going to show up, and they're going to Area 51 the place. Very funny. What do you think of the Joss Whedon line? Was it one of his snappiest lines? Because apparently he had like big input in the MCU for a few years there.
Yeah, he was basically kind of show running the MCU for the first 2 phases.
Mm-hmm.
He was a big influence on Guardians of the Galaxy, which really shows on Guardians of the Galaxy.
What did you think of this line, though, in particular?
About 40% Joss, 40% Farscape, 20% Guardians of the Galaxy.
So what did you think of this line? Is it one of Joss's best, or would you say there's like way better lines that Joss has written? Oh wait, no, he hasn't written, because remember, he didn't write this scene.
I'm 90% sure he was nothing to do with this scene.
It sounds like a Joss Whedon line, though.
It sounded like someone trying to write a Joss Whedon line, which is why it went terribly wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't even call that a Jed Whedon line. Like,
Jed Whedon?
Yeah. He wrote a lot of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and you can really tell when he's trying to write himself and when he's trying to write Joss. And then Marissa takes over and it just gets a lot better.
I didn't want... I got bored of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. pretty fast. It's such a badly made show. Just...
The first season was really weak, but once it gets to the Winter Soldier bit, it gets a lot better. And then the second season's really strong. And the third season is fucking amazing.
You know what? I'll believe you on that. But when I saw it, I thought it was fucking stupid. But I digress.
Yeah.
I agree.
Definitely revisit.
So okay, where were we? Oh yes, the totally wasn't written by Joss Whedon line. I guess it's okay. I don't know. I don't know. It sounds like someone trying to imitate Joss Whedon. Like, when he isn't in his apex, like, something like the Avengers. Like, Avengers, like, that's Joss Whedon in his, like, creative apex. At least in my opinion. What do you think? What do you think, Taheg?
In terms of his Marvel work, yeah, definitely, absolutely. He peaked with Avengers, it's all downhill from there. But in terms of just his general work, nothing he did with Marvel is even in the top, like...
Well, no, I'm just talking about his Marvel work.
His Marvel work, yeah, his Marvel work, he absolutely peaked with Avengers. That film is a fucking masterpiece.
I agree.
Not so much Age of Ultron. That's a piece of something, but not a masterpiece.
So, going back to this movie, so Jane comes back, and she's been gone for 5 hours, and she complains about the cops. So then the cops are like, Taheg, you're a British man.
Sadly, yes.
What did you think of the Jerrys in this movie? Is that the right slang word?
Cowardly, pretty ineffectual, and overly aggressive. So yeah, I'd say it's about 95% accurate. Yeah.
So here's one thing that kind of pissed me off. So Thor shows back up, and it's actually kind of clever because it's like, oh, it's not raining on them; it's just raining on everybody else. And then like, oh. I love how Thor just, like, randomly appears. There's like, oh, there he is. No big entrance. No, like, epic entrance like earlier. No, we got past that earlier. No, he's just there.
He rockets with the storm.
I love it.
He fell from heaven like rain.
I love it. I
think, like, genuinely, there's a bit of mocking there, but genuinely, I do really like the way this scene plays out. Like, with the rain, and then Darcy's like, dude, look around. It's like a perfect fucking circle of dryness. We've centered on you, and everyone else is getting soaked. And then you apparently see him, and she walks over, and the circle just follows her, and Darcy gets drenched.
Oh, yeah.
I had to laugh at that. And then there was the stereotypical, oh, I'm so happy to see you. Slap. What the hell? Slap. Like, yeah, okay, we get it. Physical violence is funny when it's against men. But yeah, on the whole, I think that scene does work quite well.
Mm-hmm.
If you skip the Area 51 line.
You want to talk about the bad acting from Natalie Portman, which again, I feel like Natalie Portman is kind of like Hayden Christensen, which is funny because they were both in Star Wars together.
Ironically, they were.
They're good actors when they're given good directors. when they don't, like, Leon the Professional, brilliant performance. Even though she was, like, 14 and the dude was... That's beside the point. I still love Leon the Professional, even if Luc Besson is a creep in real life.
He is, but yeah.
But that's a really well-directed movie, and she is excellent in it.
She is.
But then do something like the Star Wars prequels or this movie. Oh boy, is there she's no Ewan McGregor, unfortunately, who can just somehow has the ability to try and act well, even though there is a lot of badness.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this? Jacob, Taheg, tell me I'm right or wrong.
You're right, 100%. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't quite put her at Hayden Christensen levels, but it very much feels like she has to be really invested in a role if she's going to perform well, and she's clearly not feeling it with this role, which is understandable because, I mean, like...
The character is so bad in this.
Talking about how great Jane is. Like, yeah, you know, multiple PhD, super scientist. And then really all she does is waver back and forth between doing really stupid shit and gazing lovingly at Thor. Like, they try to save it a bit in the third act, but by that point the film has gone so far off the rails it doesn't really matter.
It's like, she, like, tries to be sassy a little bit against Odin, and it just falls so flat. It's just... Oh, God, so... This movie is so poorly structured. I mean, I'm hoping you could at least agree with that, even though you're more lenient on this movie than Jake and I are.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, the third act is a complete mess, and like the kind of there's no real consistent arc, anywhere in the film. Like, I enjoy it for what it is, but I'm well aware of what it isn't, which is well structured.
So,
Competently paced.
So, Thor just, like, randomly shows up, which is, that actually kind of made me laugh a little bit. I mean, it was well done, but I love how it just, like, pans over and then there's Thor. I don't know, just, it's like out of a comedy. It's just like, boink, there he is. You're gonna have to deal with it now.
It's like, hey, I don't have blonde eyebrows anymore.
You guys are never gonna get over the blonde eyebrows.
No. Oh my God. Thor doesn't have blonde eyebrows. They clearly just painted them on there in the first film.
You're never gonna get over the blonde eyebrows.
No. I'm never gonna get over that or the Dutch angles. God, this film doesn't have the Dutch angles.
If there was just a Dutch angle focused entirely on Thor's face with like the eyebrows center screen, would your head explode?
I would die.
Okay.
He would go like, I wonder if it would be like Hodor, where he just starts yelling incoherently, and then he just like starts like making random noises, and that's all he can do for the rest of his life. Which, oh boy, let's not think about Game of Thrones again.
No, I can't be hurt like that again. Moving on.
So here's something that kind of made me mad. So Thor can just lovingly touch Jane, but then the cops like try to arrest her, and she just like blows all of them away with this like evil red energy from the Aether, I'm assuming. I'm guessing it's because he's a god, but it really annoyed me. Like, I remember yelling, "How come he can touch her?" And my mom was like, "Quiet, your dad's working." So, yeah.
I'm guessing it's because the Aether wanted to protect itself, and there was no threat from him, because he just wanted to give her the good loving, whereas there was a threat from the police officers who wanted to take her away and lock her in a cage.
So, they go to Asgard, which is which is better lit and colored than the rest of this stupid movie. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that England can't look nice even when it's grainy. I know Taheg, you're an Englander. What says you about how England? I know you say it looks grainy a lot, but like,
yeah.
Are there movies that
Grainy,
make
more than grainy?
But, like, what says you about... How do you better light England and make it look nice and not just, like, a rainy crap fest. I don't know. I was gonna say shithole, but I didn't want to be too offensive.
It's mostly set in
Uh-huh.
London, which isn't the like. There's parts of Central which are quite nice and they look really some great architecture, but on the whole, it's just a lot of concrete, a lot of buildings. It's not the most like. If you want to really see the best of England, you have to get the fuck out of London. Go to kind of the greener areas where it looks a bit more verdant. But that would be quite hard to.
How do you think your city looks in this movie, though?
Huh?
How do you think your city looks in this movie, though?
No worse than anywhere else. At least we get to see a bit of like, it's Greenwich. We get a Stonehenge. It looks quite nice out there. Some rolling hills. Although, pretty sure you're not actually allowed near Stonehenge anymore because people keep fucking it up because people are bastards. Which makes this film a little bit. It's not the least believable thing in this film, so who cares?
So.
I mean, it's not the best shot film, so there's I can't really hold that against it.
The color is so bland in this movie, but that's digress. It's better lit and colored in Asgard, but I hate how they did it in this movie. Because here's Jane looking around like she's I can't even speak. That's how annoyed it makes me. Here, I'll let you guys. I'll let you guys take it over from here.
There are a lot of films that are like mostly great, but if you get a good director on and just it would be. You can make a good-looking film that's like mostly all great. I mean, like take The Batman for example.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what a film!
Shaun of the Dead, which also takes place in London.
Yes,
it does.
Seven
was a good movie.
Wait a minute, Seven takes place mostly in London?
No.
I see what you mean there. No, yeah. It took me a second there. But yeah, like, I do like the way this film handles Asgard. I do like that they make it feel more like a kind of realm, a world.
Feels like a place.
In the first film, and especially in the third film, it very much feels like they just focus on that little city and forget everything else. Like, they focus on like the palace where Odin lives. And everywhere else can just fuck off. And in this one, we see a lot more of the realm of Asgard. You see, big fucking mountains and cool stuff in the distance. Like, it feels more like a whole world.
Yeah.
Which it didn't really in the first film. I like that.
Though, the downside to that is Jane Foster acts like an idiot throughout the entirety of her stay in Asgard. And I hate it.
And she's supposed to be smart, but no.
She's like looking around like, oh, look at this. Oh, what does this thing do? And she's like, oh, Thor. And then she like acts like the awkward girlfriend meeting the parents for the first time. It is so cringeworthy.
I mean, that is literally what's happening, though. She's not just meeting her boyfriend's parents. She's meeting her boyfriend's parents, who both happen to be gods.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's a bit of extra pressure there.
Still bad.
It's a little stereotypical, but I think it's meant to kind of humanize them and add a bit of family sort of drama, like in heavy air quotes, to the situation.
Odin's just being a dick for no reason, and Frigga's actually pretty nice. Like, she's like, I've heard a lot about you, and she's like, oh, really? What'd you say? And you're like, oh, God. But, oh, jeez. And then she meets Sif. Oh, my God. This made me laugh. Sif gives her the ice dagger glare, and it is hilarious.
Yes.
And not in, like... it is just, like... What do you think of this, other guys?
I really like that scene, mate. Kind of Sif's walking along looking like a fucking boss, got off to Warriors and stuff, and she's like, oh, so that's Jane. She looks like me, but shit, I hate her. And Jane's like, oh, who's that nice lady? She looks like a nice warrior lady. I wonder what's up with her. And it made me laugh.
It's like, the thing that bugs me about this movie is that characters are acting idiotically even when they're, like, not meaning to? Does that even make sense? This movie does not make sense. But...
Yeah.
That's the thing. So, all right. On the meanwhile, it turns out that our boy Malekith has woken up, and he's very mad, I guess.
Yes.
He speaks once again in his weird elf language to Dr. Echo, Mr. Echo. And he turns Mr. Echo into a monster. And apparently this is another famous Thor character as well. I don't know what you thought of this, but I'm sure Taheg has a lot of opinions on this. But he's all I need you to break the ether out of there, and we'll attack later. Oh, it's so dumb. What is this? This nonsense? Is this trying to be? Is this trying to be Lord of the Rings? Except they're space elves. Our hearty band of space elves.
Lord of the Rings.
What?
There's no part of this that in any way resembles Lord of the Rings, except they both deal with elves.
Okay, maybe it's not trying to be Lord of the Rings, but it's only kind of trying to be Lord of the Rings.
It's trying to be. I think that's the thing. It's it's using a lot of classic fantasy tropes, but in a kind of science setting. They're really I think the big problem with this film is it can't decide if it wants to be a fantasy film or a sci-fi film. So it tries to do both and ends up kind of just in this weird middle ground where it's okay, so you've got guys with sword and shields fighting guys with laser guns. Great. But the shields can sort of block the blasts, but 90% of the time they don't. So it sort of makes Asgard's infantry look like bitches. But then the fight goes on for way longer than it would, considering how many Asgardians we see die how freaking quickly. So either they're just throwing the endless armies at these guys and losing them, but then they close into melee range, and then the Asgard kind of has an edge, but then there's fucking gravity grenades. It's all very bizarre. Just jumping back briefly to the scene we're actually talking about. Inferring from your tone, you seem not to have particularly enjoyed it, but I do quite like that for 90% of this film, Malekith talks in kind of, I'm just going to say, Svartalfheim ease, because we're not given a name for the actual language, so I'm going to make one up, and it can't be any crazier than what they probably actually called it. Svartalfheim-ish, shall we say, sounds a bit better. I quite like, they're really kind of, it feels again, going back to the whole sort of science fantasy angle, it feels that they're really trying to hammer home that Malekith and his whole crew are very alien, and they are. This is kind of playing on the fear of the other, which has bad context in some usage, but in this particular case, I think it's handled quite well. And then speaking for Dr. Echo, whose name is Algrim, A-L-G-R-I-M.
Algrim, yes. Apparently he's a big Thor villain as well. They don't even call him that.
He's a villain known as Curse.
I don't even think they know. I don't think they even call him that in the movie.
They refer to him a few times as the Cursed. Spelled with a K, just so you know, it's a fancy one.
Oh
it's
my
not,
god!
It's not a normal C curse. It's a capital.
Oh wow! How
K
creative!
Curse.
Ugh.
Yeah. Basically, there are many villains who consistently get one over on Thor, but much like Loki and Malekith, the other two villains that were hammered into this film for no reason, they usually do it by kind of outsmarting him or kind of outmanning him or whatever. There are precious few villains who just give Thor the business every time by just overpowering him and kicking the shit out of him. Curse is one of those villains.
I don't even think we see him kick Thor's ass in this movie.
Thor is I think it's 8 victories to 2 defeats. Every time he shows up, you know Thor is about to get a proper thrashing. So I was quite glad to see him show up and give Thor a proper fucking thrashing. Also one of, I think 2 people in the MCU that have managed to just casually backhand Mjolnir away. Like, he didn't pick it up. He's not worthy. He was just like, guess what, Mjolnir? Fuck you, Hammer.
Oh yeah, it just bounced off.
Get
Yeah.
in the sea.
So
Something like that. But yeah, I mean, he is very much like in his history. I think he's kicked the crap out of Hulk as well. Like, this is a guy who absolutely, he's a team buster. He deserved a lot more than being a mid boss in an already somewhat oversaturated movie. Like, he could have been maybe not an Avengers tier threat, but he could have been his own villain rather than just being like mid-tier muscle. Like, considering how weak the final fight in this film is, they absolutely could have moved Curse to the Act 3 villain and had Thor go toe-to-toe with him while Malekith did his wibbly-wobbly sciencey-wincy shit in the background, and then they, stabbed him with a stick the same way they do in this. Like, it could have been paced and arced a lot better, but it wasn't, because #Curse deserved better.
Did we skip the part where Loki was hanging out with his mom? Or hanging out in air quotes with his mom?
Yes, we did.
Oh, so by the way, Loki's not having a good so Loki isn't really having a good time in prison, and Frigga is like trying to like make him feel better, and Loki is just acting Tom Hiddleston, I think, is one of the better parts of this movie, but like at the very beginning he acts like a child.
I mean, doesn't Loki always?
Okay, yeah, usually, but I usually think he's more dignified than him doing the whole "he's not my dad" shtick, and I hate that. I hate that.
That line doesn't really, that line doesn't really land.
And then she's all like, "So does that mean?"
The reason that scene was included was because it ends with him being a dick to Frigga, who then leaves and then dies.
He's like, "So does that?"
Guilt and shame to Loki, because the last thing he ever said to his mum, who's the only member of his family he gives a shit about, was terrible.
He's all like, "Oh, does that mean I'm not your mother?" Just like, shut the fuck up. Jesus Christ. What do you think, Jacob? What do you think about What do you think about this, Jacob? Did I call you Jesus?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, not to you. I meant, like, I was agreeing with you.
Oh, well, what do you think, Jacob, about these scenes that we're talking about?
You know what? I'm just gonna go with my rant about Loki in this film. I might jump ahead, but I just got to get out of my system. I am so fucking sick of the whole, oh, he's betraying us again. Oh, he's on our side again. He's betraying us again. Oh, he's on our side again. Oh, he's dead. Oh, he's alive. Oh, he's dead. Oh, he's back alive again. It's old now. So fucking annoying. It's gotten old.
I think they did it. Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, it worked for like the first Thor or first Avengers. I can't remember, but it's just getting old, guys.
I think it's done a lot better. I think he's done a lot better in something like Loki.
Yes.
I think he's actually one of the better parts of this movie, even. But, oh my god. They literally make it like a parody of Loki in this, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So, they also locked up all of the, like, space Ravager guys in some of the other cells. Oh, and then Curse shows up, and it's just like, oh my god. So, he, like, tears through the walls and, like, kills everybody, and then he, like, starts a riot. Okay. Then he...
Dude, that's the thing where he pushes the guy's face against the wall and then
cool. Yeah, that was kind of cool. But...
Credit where it's due.
Oh, guess what? Guess who he doesn't free? Guess who he doesn't free when he walks through the jail cell? That's right. He doesn't free Loki, because he's a dick. And of course Loki can't be freed at this moment. God. I think I'm popping a blood vessel already, guys.
Yay. I can't wait to see in his full glory.
Oh my... Oh, we haven't even gotten started yet. So... Oh my god. I'm getting lost now. Okay. So Curse shows up. Or the Cursed, as he's called in this movie. Very creative. I skipped a part. So they're checking up on Jane, and then Odin shows up. And again, he's just being such a dick. For no reason. And he's like, yeah, and then he starts like waxing poetic and gives just another info dump. So many info dumps in this movie. Oh my god. And he talks about how the ether will kill her. And then it's gonna destroy the world. Why don't we just call it generic action movie plot from now on? It's just...
Honestly.
I hate this.
Every time an Infinity Gem shows up, it just means the world's going to be destroyed. Like,
yeah,
all
but...
Infinity Gems, the power is just the world's going to be destroyed.
Yeah, but they actually did more interesting stuff with the Infinity Stones later on. That's what differentiates that from this crap. Because it's
I'm still not 100% sure they ever actually intended that to be an Infinity Stone, because it's very bizarre. It
the
like
Aether is barely an afterthought in this movie.
Planned.
You can just call it a MacGuffin and just slap it on there. That's what this is. Just call it just have a box and just slap a painted MacGuffin on the box. That's what the Aether is in this movie.
Yep.
It is so bad. Oh yeah, and Odin, of course, recognizes it, because, he's the old, sage, wise man. Even though... Ugh. God. So, okay. Cutting back to the scene where Curse just starts wrecking everybody. So, okay, he wrecks everybody. He's doing his thing. He doesn't let Loki out. Because, of course, he doesn't.
So stupid.
It's so bad. And then he's all like... go through the corner to the left. What a dick. So, then we get the battle scene of this movie. Which, it's not that bad. At least at first. It's
step up from the first film.
It's an improvement. It's not the Battle of Ragnarok, to be sure, but it is... It is certainly an upgrade from the last one, which is just a bunch of thrashing. So, the dark...
Yeah.
So,
I'm
sorry.
I think the action is better, more competently held than in the first film. Because the action, I thought, was just, lifeless and uninspired. This, some creativity. And it's more exciting.
Especially with the Asgardians, it feels more like they feel more like a kind of super advanced warrior race in this compared to before, where they were just getting rolled like bitches.
Mm-hmm. They actually feel more like a threat beyond they feel more like a threat rather than the frost giants in the first Thor, which it just felt like plot devices.
But here's the thing: I don't feel anything when I'm watching it. It's well helmed, but I don't feel anything.
Doesn't get you invested.
So they have a big fight, and Odin is just walking around and just shooting dark elves with that thing that his dad had earlier. But I guess it's just passed down through the ages. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah. You see it again in Ragnarok.
I know.
It's the spear of the Allfather.
So, okay.
Not really sure why it's shooting laser blasts, though. That's not what spears do.
So, that happens. And then we get what is by far the worst scene in this movie. So it starts out with Frigga telling Natalie Portman, Jane Foster, to follow her and do everything she says. And then Malekith shows up. Oh my god. The dialogue in this scene. It is George Lucas tier. I am not being ironic. I am not kidding. That is my hot take for... That is my hot take for the day. The dialogue in this scene is utterly atrocious. Some of the worst lines and line delivery I have ever heard in any MCU movie. Christopher Eccleston, like, he tries, but the dialogue he says is so bad. It is so...
delivery of the dialogue in this scene is why I'm glad most of the time he speaks in subtitles.
I know. It is so bad. He's just like,
He clearly
move.
doesn't give a shit.
He's like, move, woman, so we can get the Aether. It's like, I was shaking. Like, I was literally shaking. I'm not kidding. It is George Lucas tier. It is that bad.
Funny you mentioned that scene. That's actually the part where I dozed off. No, I'm not lying. I'm being serious.
No, I'm not saying I don't think you're serious. I just think that's funny.
Oh, yeah. I was like, I was watching the scene, and I was like in a comfortable position like this. And I was reading the subtitles. I wasn't even paying attention, honestly. And I was like, what the hell is this? And I was like, oh, the dialogue is abysmal. And it is George Lucas tier, not being hyperbolic.
I don't know what you think, Taheg, but I thought it was legit George Lucas tier. Like, I thought it was that bad. I'm not even being ironic. And I'm not being punny, or I'm not being puntacular because Natalie Portman's in this movie, and she was in a George Lucas film. It is a horribly written scene. It is so bad. And then Frigga gets stabbed, and it's shown as an afterthought. It is so bad. Like,
what do you mean it's shown as an afterthought?
Like, he stabs her, and then they, like, run off, and then Thor just, like, bursts into the room, and, like, then he zaps half his face. That's where he gets that epic half face that we see in the comics. It is so bad. And then Odin shows up out of nowhere, and then he just, like, cradles his wife. It is so bad. It is just... Oh my god. Taheg, I want to see how you defend this part of the movie, because it's pretty hard for me to defend. It would be hard for me to defend this. Or maybe you'll agree with me. I don't know.
I have two points that I will put in his defense. First, Frigga's put a pretty solid fight. It's like, this film doesn't have the best action, but what action there is in that scene is solid. And she shows how she's a force to be reckoned with. She shows, she's every bit Odin's equal when it comes to throwing hands, and I like that. And secondly, the whole kind of Jane Foster not being there, fake out thing.
Fine. I'll give you that. That was kind of cool. But aside from that, tell me what you think about this.
Well, she fights, gets run through, falls down, sad times. Thor comes in, second too late. He may be the god of thunder, but he's not as fucking fast as Lightspeed. Blast Malekith gives him the classic look. He fucks off. Odin comes in. It's all very sad. The next, 10, 15 minutes of the film, they let it be sad. No one tries to break the tension. No one tries to upset the mood. They just let it be fucking sad. That was Ragnarok. They'd have been like, oh, at least her back pain's gone, eh? She's in a better place now. Oh, it's fine. No, they would have been cracking fucking jokes. No one cracks a joke. There's a sad scene where she dies. Everyone grieves. They have a funeral. You realise just how bad the attack was. And then they move on to the next parts. Admittedly, I'm with you. The Malekith versus Frigga dialogue, it's bad.
I'm telling you, it's bad. It's bad. She literally does the epic fantasy cliche thing where she's like, I will drive it through your stomach before you hurt this woman, elf. And I just go, oh, it's so bad. It is so bad.
But tonally, I think the whole scene and the whole kind of the journey of those 2 or 3 scenes to get back to back works really well, and they allow it to be what they're trying to be. sadly, what they're trying to be is a 4 out of 10 written death scene.
Oh.
But everything feels like it progresses naturally, which is something that later films don't do as well.
Okay, fine. I will give you this. The funeral scene is actually pretty good.
It is.
But aside from
there's
that...
more emotion in those scenes than there is in Odin's death in the next film.
Oh, hold on. Hold on. That is a spicy take right there.
It is.
That is a spicy take.
It is. And I think next week we'll see.
I will defend that scene. That was way better acted and emoted than that scene. This scene's actually pretty... The funeral scene in this movie is actually really good, too. But... is good. But I don't think it holds a candle to Odin's death.
You see Frigga floating away, the arrow goes out, she looks up and oh, that's sad, they're having a funeral for the Queen. And then you see, like, fucking 1,000 other boats all on up, and you're like there's no dialogue, there's no massive info dumps, which is a huge weakness for this film. Just with that one scene, they show you perfectly just how fucking savage the Dark Elf attack was, and just what a cost they paid. Is okay. You understand Thor is pretty cut up about that.
So
we see later on Loki is cut up about that. We know Odin's fucked up, pissed off.
So,
but then 1,000 other people are going through not just as much pain, and it's like, damn, they got fucked.
There's a little funny bit where he shoots the arrow at the boat. Going back to this weird crossover into Game of Thrones, that reminded me of that scene where Edmund keeps failing, and then his uncle just is like, "Give me that shit," and then he shoots it.
Just to step in.
That reminded me of that, and I just couldn't help but be like, "Oh."
I feel so bad for Edmure in that scene. It's like, bless him, he's trying, but he's just such a fuck up. This guy, though, Asgardian training, clearly better than Riverland's training.
Oh my god, yeah, that's an impressive shot, by the way. Like, that is a really impressive... I don't think normal humans would make that shot. I'm just saying.
Fuck no. Not in the dark as well. Not a fucking chance.
But...
Hawkeye probably could.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I kept thinking back to that scene in Game of Thrones. But I do not think it's better than the Odin death. But I will give you... It's not bad. I like that feel. I like the music too. Like it's actually used in Thor Ragnarok. In fact, a little fun fact for the crew.
Is it?
Yeah, the play scene.
Oh god, yeah. Oh god,
the little choir.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I forgot about that scene.
Oh, dude, that's one of the best scenes of that movie.
Sure.
No? You don't think that?
I agree that you think it is.
Come on. Okay.
No, I'm sure you.
Okay, alright, let's move on. That's for next week. I don't want to...
Yeah.
I can't believe you, Taheg. Anyway, that scene is actually good, but it's so random. Like, they're, like, mourning for a second, and then it just cuts to that scene. This film feels incomplete. I'll give it that. What do you guys think?
I agree.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I have. I think we're like, yeah, the acting's great, the writers are strong, the directors are great. I don't know what happened. It's entirely possible that some cunt just fucked up in the editing room.
Something.
It's actually a great film. It's just in different pieces, and half of it's on the floor of the room, and they needed someone with a slightly steadier hands to just redo this film so it doesn't feel quite so disjointed.
Like, who edited this? Dan Lebenthal and Wyatt Smith. Well, my good friends, you left more to be desired in this movie, because the editing in this is pretty mid-tier. And that's me being nice. Because there are just scenes where they just, like, cut randomly, and it's, like, kind of undercuts the scene. And it's like... Or, like, when Thor showed up earlier, I thought, I think they'd give him a more epic entrance. But, no, they didn't. But anyway. So, then we're getting to a scene that I actually like, believe it or not. You can guess, Taheg. Shocker, yes. Thor actually comes up with a pretty competent plan to get to the Dark Aether, and I'm like, oh wow, like Thor's being smart, and he's not just punching things. Like, thank you. Like I isn't this guy like war isn't just like hitting things. You gotta plan things out, and Thor actually comes up with a pretty good plan. I'm like, hey, this is actually pretty cool. I like this scene. And he gets like the Warriors 3, and he gets like Hemdall involved, even though he doesn't kind of want to, and it's actually like kind of well done, and there's like personality.
There's layers to that fucking plan. There's multiple fake outs. There's distractions. It's very well planned out.
Yeah, and they get Loki involved, and they do that whole song and dance. If you betray him, I will kill you myself. And he's all like, "Good to see you, Sif." But I will say, when he does visit Loki, I did cringe a little bit that he was doing his best Hannibal Lecter impersonation. But then again, his father literally is Hannibal Lecter, so I'll give him a pass. I'll give him some pass points for that. But
I do like the little reveal where he's kind of Loki's being all like, "Rah, I'm Loki, fuck you," and then Thor's like,
he's too punk rock for these Asgardians, and then it's like, oh no, never mind.
When Thor's just like, "Come on, dude, I know, I've seen enough of your illusions to know what's happening here," and then Loki's like, fine, and clicks his fingers, and the illusion fades. And
he looks like shit.
Cell, and he's like, he's all in the corner, like, fuck it.
He looks like shit.
Good scene.
And he looks like shit. He looks like he's been crying. He looks sick, actually.
Probably is.
Oh my god. So, but yeah, this is actually a good scene. It's like a good plan, and they execute it pretty well. And I'm like, wow, this is actually kind of fun. And I gotta say, Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston have chemistry, and it's just, they get along famously. It's just like, their parts were probably my favorite bit of this movie.
But it's always good when Thor's your best part of a Thor film.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jacob?
Which scene were we at? Sorry.
We were at the part where they're planning to get back at Malekith.
Oh yes, Thor finally not being the meathead that he was in the last fucking movie, and no blonde eyebrows. I'm never gonna let that go. But anyway, yeah, Thor is actually being smart, and it's actually a pretty good plan.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But I do love the kind of every single person at the meeting is like, yeah, look, Loki, if you betray him, I'm gonna kill you. And gets to the end and fucking
it's Volstagg.
Volstagg says it again, and Loki's just like, yes, evidently there will be a queue. It's like, Loki, you do know your sass.
Yeah.
Oh my lord. Yeah, it's oh my good lord.
Going back to your points earlier about the editing being a bit shitty in this film, one part that really stands out for me is you see, like, kind of the Warriors 3 is slowly falling back, and kind of each one is holding the line at various points. But you never actually see any of them fight. Like, Sif's like, yes, I will hold the line here, I will stop them. And then it cuts, and you see Volstagg kind of doing the same thing. It's like, and then the Asgardian soldiers rush in, and it's like, what happened to Sif's glorious last stand? Like, I'm pretty sure that's like.
Yeah, I know they lowballed the Warriors 3 so hard in these movies. It is just.
Yeah, like. That would have been the perfect opportunity to give her a really sick fight scene where you see her like take out a bunch of troops and slowly fight. Like eventually she's overwhelmed. It's like you see, sort of. Volstagg kind of has a bit of a scene, and Fandral later on has one. It's like, but what about Sif? Like, give Sif a chance to shine, man. Fuck.
I guess we kind of got that scene to shine in Loki when she keeps kicking him in the nuts and punching him. Though, I hope she's treated better in Love and Thunder. That sounds kind of suggestive, but I digress. Considering the title of the movie, Carlton, I will fucking never forgive you for saying that. If he ever gets this far in the video, I will never forgive him for saying that.
If we tell him he's got a name drop, he'll make it this far just to hear that. Hey, Carlton, sup?
No, but, oh my god. Where are we? Oh, yeah. So they actually execute the plan, and he, like, kidnaps... then we get this scene of Loki of Thor and Odin having a fight, and once again, Anthony Hopkins' performance... I don't blame the performance, I just blame the writing. Odin is just being a dick, and he is just, like, overacting again, and he's all like, they killed my wife, so we're gonna kill all of them, and we're gonna use this thing as a weapon. And Thor is like, what? No, let's just sneak it in and, kill him right there. And he's like, no, I will not risk it. And it's so bad. It's so bad. And then we get to the planning scene. It's really good.
It's two of the worst lines for me in the whole film are in these two kind of adjoining scenes. When he's like, we'll throw Asgard at them until the last Asgardian force, the last drop of Asgardian blood is spilled. Like, well, how does that make you any better? Because we'll win.
It's so bad.
Make you better. That just means you're the last one standing, you prick.
So bad. It's so
How
bad.
is this guy meant to be like a 5,000-6,000-year-old all-father of Asgard? Like, is that really the best your tactical brain can achieve? Like, just war of attrition, throw all our people at them until they all freaking die. No. Stop it, you twat.
Sorry, my mother walked in.
It's all good.
Let's see.
Then there's the second worst line in the film. They pull off the escape, they're flying away. Yeah, they finally managed to get out. They zip into a little hole, everything's fine. And they're like, but how can I... And Thor's like, how can I trust you, Loki? And 100% deadpan, without even a hint of, like, sarcasm or anything. It's totally, he's really setting the line as hard as he can. He's like, trust my rage, brother. No, fuck you. Leave now. You are no longer
I remember that line. It was... Oh, man.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier there's a couple of really great kind of pieces of wordplay in the film. That's not one of them. That's the exact opposite. That's possibly the worst line anyone has ever said in an MCU film. I can't believe it was Tom fucking Hiddleston that said it.
Jacob, what says you?
Yeah.
You said you had something to say?
This is where the dialogue gets abysmal. Absolutely horrendous.
It wasn't even more horrendous than the Frigga and Malekith George Lucas dialogue?
Oh god, that one's by far the worst. It is, like, number one, but this is a close second.
I can't believe that Odin's tactical idea is just thrash them till they're dead. It's like, isn't this what you were trying to tell Thor not to do in the last movie? It makes no sense.
He's supposed to be this wise ancient god, and that's your fucking point.
Like, I get he's mad about his wife.
But why would that make him more inclined to throw more lives away? Like, you've just got your ass handed to you. You've already lost, like, a good chunk of your people. Would that not put you on the defensive? Would that not make you want to preserve the few lives you have remaining? Why would that make you want to just throw everything away? You dopey old tart.
Oh, my lord. Oh, lord. Oh, yes. Then there comes another one of my favorite scenes, where Loki is just annoying Thor. And, again, Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston just have great chemistry, but I just love Loki just annoying Thor and just trying to get under his skin. And he, like, turns into Chris Evans. You're like, oh, Chris Evans is in this movie. And then he, like, does his whole thing. And it's so funny. And it's like, yes. I actually heard, I've heard rumors that Joss Whedon actually wrote that scene. But, it is a great scene,
That
though.
wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
That is a great scene, though.
Only scene I remember from this movie.
It's like, here's the Thor-Loki dynamic I think of when I think of those characters. He's just Loki annoying the crap out of Thor, and Thor's just trying to deal with it and getting really annoyed with him. And then they have this big action scene, and it's actually pretty well done. Good little chase scene. And Zachary Levi gets his little chance to shine. He, like, Three Musketeers it, I guess you could call it.
Oh, yeah. He was in this movie. I forgot.
I always forget he was in this. I always forget he was one of the Warrior Streaks. They, like, replaced the other guy. Or...
Do we know why that happens?
I don't know.
I'm guessing the guy just took one look at the script and was like, "No, mate, fuck that, I'm out."
Zachary Levi...
Swashbuckling, kind of.
There's, like, the Three Musketeers thing.
Yeah.
Which, again, makes me really want to see a Warriors 3 miniseries on Disney+.
100%.
I would really like to see that. Disney, come on. Don't be a bitch. You brought Daredevil back.
There's a couple of, like, Sip and the Warriors 3 mini, like 4 to 6 issue runs. You could easily adapt one of them into a series.
It's like, come on, Disney. You brought Daredevil back. You can do a Warriors 3 miniseries. Hashtag Justice for the Warriors 3.
Yes.
So they have like a fight, and then Loki takes him to the Dark World, I guess. This type of movie. It's getting that lazy now. So.
Yeah.
And, like, Natalie Portman's eyes turn the elf color. It's really bizarre. That's when he says the trust my rage part. And it's like, what is this? Taheg, what is this film?
That was meant to show her slowly being corrupted by the ether, and it's kind of starting to take over.
It's an afterthought, though. It's so bad.
Clearly, yeah.
It's like, so
it's never
bad.
Really explained why it happens. And then the ether is immediately removed, and there's.
I know. That's what I was about to get to. That pissed me off. But hold on. You want to see me go Super Saiyan, Jacob? We're about there.
Oh yes, I can't wait to see it in full glory.
Yeah, this is why the cameras are on.
So Jacob, what do you think about Natalie Portman being corrupted by the ether, or whatever you want to call it? That.
You know what? Do whatever you want with her. She's been a dumb fuck in this film anyway.
Oh my god. So then we get to the scene where Loki just decides, fuck it, and just very aggressively betrays Thor. And it's so unintentionally hilarious. Like, it is just... He just aggressively punches her in the face, cuts off Thor's hand, and then takes her hostage.
Why is that so funny? that scene, I'm going to be honest, it kind of made me laugh, especially when he chopped up Thor's hand. I don't know why.
I was like, I do not remember this. Like, it caught me completely off guard.
Caught Thor off guard, too.
Yep. My head!
Wait, I thought they was, like, secretly a part of the plan. Like,
it was. That whole thing, that whole fight's an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
None of that actually happens.
It is so weird, because Tom Hiddleston looks just sick. He looks like he has, like, pneumonia or something. And he's, like, cutting off Thor's hand, and he, like, throws him down. And he takes Jane Foster hostage. You're like, okay, where did this come from, Loki? I thought you'd, like, stab him in the back or something. I don't know.
Yet again.
Oh. What do you think of this, Taheg?
Did you not notice that Thor's hand magically grows back?
I know it does. I'm just.
Yeah, it's basically that whole thing is all part of their plan. They were trying to lull Malekith into a false sense of security by playing on everyone's. That's why they make a point of really hammering home the "don't betray Thor" thing, so that when he eventually betrays Thor, everyone's like, "Oh, what a surprise! Loki did it again." But it's all part of their plan to trick Malekith and get him to lower his guard.
No.
So that they can to destroy the ether.
I mean, I get why they did it.
They get Malekith to lower his guard. He draws the ether out of Jane somehow. They zap it with Mjolnir with some lightning because it's Thor. That's his go-to move. It explodes, and that does nothing. And then Malekith just takes the ether and fucks off.
So here's really what makes me mad about the scene. Here we go. He just takes the ether out of her, making her entire thing pointless. Really? Again, to quote Thor from Age of Ultron, that's the best you can do? Really? Are you kidding me right now? He just sucks it out of her, and he's all like, I am the Gaither now. And then he just fucks off. That...
This is great.
This is so bad. I hate this. I'm sorry.
My guess, my assumption here is that they were trying to do kind of the inversion of sort of the Indiana Jones trope, where the villain tricks the good guy into unlocking the MacGuffin so that they can take it, whereas they had reversed that, and it was the good guys tricking the baddie with sort of freeing the big thing.
Yeah, it's clever, sure, but it's done like as an afterthought, man.
Yeah. Well, because the annoying part is they kind of the plan works. Like, yeah, great, we blew up the Aether, and then with no explanation as to why, Malekith's just like, oh no, you didn't, and picks it up again.
He's like, all right, see y'all later, and then he walks off, and then that's when Thor decides to do his master stroke. It is just like, okay. Still made me mad though, because I'm like, that just made her whole thing pointless.
Not really.
I don't know. I don't know.
And the problem is, it's not explained why he is able to remove the ether from her.
I know.
Clearly,
that's it.
He has some kind of control over it, but it's never explained why.
It's kind of half-assed explained at the beginning, but that's about it. Like, it's never really...
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Is it just because it's darkness and he's a dark elf? In which case, that is really weak.
Is that kind of racist? That sounds kind of racist in a way.
He's the greatest sorcerer ever, as he is meant to be in the comics.
He's like...
it's some dark elf magic that is this, long forgotten spell. Like, it's still weak fucking reasoning, but at least it's a reason.
So it turns out Thor does his master stroke and tries to destroy the Aether, but it fails? It looked like he was succeeding to me, but I like how you all shrugged. As I was shrugging.
It looked pretty successful to me. There was a big explosion and a mushroom cloud.
I know.
And it exploded into a mushroom cloud. I consider that a great success.
And then Malekith's just like, okay, that happened, and he just walks away. It's like, we're doing this now? Really? Like that? Are you even trying with this movie? Like, really?
To be fair, at that point, he does have an infinity gem under. He has the reality stone under his control, so he kind of can just fuck off.
Still stupid. Still stupid. Fuck. Okay. So Malekith just fucks off, and then the Cursed attacks Algrim. And it's like a fight. And then Loki, does the whole... He stabs himself with the sword. And he says, I'll see you in hell. And then he, blows it up. And then he dies. And, fun fact, in the...
dies.
dies with air
Dies
quotes.
in heavy air
using air quotes. So he dies. What's that meme? Isn't it from Seinfeld where he does the or no, it's Chris Farley.
Friends.
No, it's Chris Farley from SNL when he does the big it's the down by the river guy. And fun fact, the exact dialogue they use, they reuse it in Thor Ragnarok, except it's more cheeky in that in the theater scene, which I guess that Taheg is just trying to make me mad because I guess he doesn't like that scene, but we'll save that for next week.
We will.
I really like Ragnarok, if you couldn't tell. It's way better than these first two movies. I can tell you that. Alright? I will rant about it next week. I will do it. I don't care what Carlton says.
We almost need to have him on and have a four-way discussion because he fucking hates that film.
Please.
He hates it so much.
I don't know.
Thor Ragnarok, including Carl.
I think it would turn into just a yelling match by the I don't know. I don't want this show to become a yelling match. We can rant, but I can take ranting, but I don't know if I want to turn it into a shouting match.
It's probably safest for everyone speakers if we don't. Fair point.
Yeah.
So okay. So Thor does the whole cliche, I'm gonna tell father what you did, and then he's all like, I didn't do it for him. And it's so...
The only way that scene kind of works...
It's so bad.
We're going to finish that thing.
So bad.
The only way that scene kind of works is if you think of it, that Loki is not hurt at that point. He's fucking with Thor at that point. The only way that works is if you kind of think of it, that scene, Loki delivering that line is just his way of fucking with Thor. That line is meant to be a joke. Because he knows Thor is such a fucking meathead, and he'd be like, I got you, brother, man. I know you did it for me, thank you. And Loki's just like, I can't believe he's fucking falling for this.
I know. That's what makes it funny. It's like when you think about it, you're like, wow, it sounds like a guy who's trying to act like he's dying, and it's hilarious. It's so bad.
I will say this in Ragnarok they did that scene justice, but I'll say that for the next episode.
Oh my god. I can't wait till we get to that scene in Ragnarok, because I love it so much. But anyways. Okay. So meanwhile, Jane just... Oh yeah, this is actually kind of clever, I guess, in a weird way, but it's done in a weird way, and it's kind of like a mixed bag. But it turns out that Jane somehow finds out she can use her phone in one of the caves. And they, cross over back into England. So...
I think this scene perfectly sums up the main fault with this film.
Things just happen?
There's a few really great concepts, but none of them are fucking explained. She goes into the cave, and suddenly we hear the ringtone that was a joke earlier. So, oh no, another callback that was poorly executed. She answers the phone, and it's your man from before, and they start. He thinks she's flirting, and actually she's just trying to keep the connection open. And then you see the Vimto can that was dropped before, and the keys that Ian, the intern, threw in. It's like, okay,
yeah,
so this
he's
is
a
where
dumbass.
things were going when they were disappearing.
I hate Ian.
We all hate Ian, except for Darcy, who apparently likes him.
Yeah.
And then, she just kind of... They just walk into the cave and they come out in London. But they, we know where that hole they were going to. There was one up in the...
It's A+ for creativity, but it's still stupid.
How do they walk out of a different portal that gets into the same area, but at a different angle? If they float, if they'd been Thor, come in, fly us up, and it's in a kind of sort of reverse superhero fall kind of through the portal and they're just flown on. That would have been quite cool. But they just sort of walk into the general area and come out again in the general area. And it's like, was there a step we missed there? There needs to be some kind of bridge to connect the two. And it was just missing. It's very poorly executed.
It's like this movie...
The problem of the last half an hour.
It's like A+ for creativity, but it's still kind of dumb. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
They do it in, like, the dumbest, just cutest way where Natalie Portman's like, oh! And she, like, gets the call, and it's so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad. Taheg Gloder likes this movie.
I do.
Oh, God. So, meanwhile, Ian, that fucking idiot, and Darcy are trying to get Selvig out of the hospital. And here's another scene I really like. Selvig just going full tinfoil hat conspiracy mode with the Convergence. And then Stanley's like, yes, could I have my shoe back? I love it.
Great scene.
Can't go wrong with a Stan Lee cameo, even in the worst Marvel
Stand
films.
Man.
I love it.
Never been a bad one.
Yep.
I love it. There's not really a bad one in the bunch. It's just good stuff.
Yep. Just Stanley being Stanley. It's always
Oh man. And they get Selvig out and he's in his underpants. He's like, oh, Darcy. She's like, oh, hey, Eric. And he's like, oh, all right, hug. There we go. And it's actually kind of nice. Ooh, okay. Ian. Or Ian's just like, oh, yes, this is my father. And they give him all the stuff. I don't know. What do you think of this scene, guys? Jacob, you sound like you were about to say something.
Yeah. I'm still pretty high, so I'm sorry.
He got hot for the occasion.
So I can remember. So I have time to remember.
Okay, I'll jump in then. But, like, it's all just much like with the phone portal sequence, this whole freeing Dr. Selvig thing. It's all just a little too convenient. Like, they literally walk into a hospital, they're clearly dying, and they're like, yeah, can we please have our father back? You'll know him, he's the one that clearly has a different accent than we do. And they, like, there's a name I can barely spell, but I have to keep fucking checking with my mate to make sure I have my own name right. And then he walks out, and they're, yeah, oh, okay, here's your obviously mental father, in heavy air quotes, and here's his massive bag of prescription drugs that we're just gonna give you, because why wouldn't we? The drugs that kill Ozzy Osbourne, we're just gonna hand it to you for no fucking reason. And then he walks out, completely ignores his son, hugs a random girl. And they're like, yeah, sure.
It's so nonsensical, but it's like entertaining, you know?
Yeah. Like, it's a funny scene, but it's like, that's just not how that would play out.
No.
It's getting lazy now. Now they're just it's like they gave up halfway through the movie. Like, they were trying to make it work, and now they're just giving up.
Yeah.
Just doing this funny scene.
Basically everything from...
Oh, sorry.
Everything from kind of Thor and Loki's plan. Like, that's the intellectual peak of the film. And then it's just downhill from there.
What were you saying, Jacob?
Yeah, it's just like, I agree. It's like they just didn't even like try throughout the ending of the film. They're like, oh, throw in this funny scene, even though it's kind of stupid and it seems way too convenient, as Taheg said. But, you know, we'll just throw it in there because, hey, it's Marvel. People like funny stuff in Marvel, so.
Like, that's where it was, like, became fun for me, because it's like, this is so stupid, and it would be so obvious in, like, a well-made movie that actually has, like, attention to detail that this would not work. But it's, like, entertaining, and it's really fun in a stupid way.
Sounds about right.
So then Selvig, who basically becomes the exposition guy explains that Malekith is trying to restore the Dark Elves to just, like, full power, by unleashing the Aether at the center of the Convergence, which is in Greenwich. Greenwich. Thank you, Taheg.
No problem.
Sorry, I'm not English. There's a part of me that wishes I was, but, you know.
You're not English, you're just Britain.
Oh!
I'm going to try and make one of those jokes every episode I'm on. Pretty sure I'm 2 for 2 right now.
So, oh god, and then there's later on in the thing where they just do the back to the awful editing, but you know what, we'll get to that later. So back to this movie's thing of having A+ creativity, but just D- execution, or D+, maybe D-, a D execution.
Solid D, yep.
Where?
These were Sith ones.
Oh my god.
Jesus.
Oh my god. Okay.
Sorry.
You had to do it.
Couldn't pass that. That was too funny.
Oh my god. Okay. So, I love how the elf ship just doesn't give a fuck. Just starts, like, it just crashes into the ground and just starts, like, going over to where the Convergence is. I don't know why, but it's basically like Diet Avengers at this point. There's no stakes. There's nothing there. It's just like, oh, they're destroying England. That's cool. Yeah. It's like, where's the oomph of the Battle of New York? Where's all the cops running around not sure what to do, and everything's blowing up, and all this shit is going on?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's just people just running around, and there's these dark aliens, walking around.
Half of them don't seem to give a shit. They're like, oh, look, that's cool. It's Thor doing stuff. Let's record it on the camera.
It's so bad. Oh.
We're not that jaded.
Oh, that English dude who's like, oh, look, it's Thor out there. It's like, shut the fuck up.
I swear that's the same actor that's in Black Widow.
What? What were you saying?
I swear the guy that says that is the same one that's in Black Widow.
What were you saying, Jacob?
It's like, the smartest thing to do is run away and have Thor deal with that instead of fucking recording it.
It's so dumb. So then we get to A+ idea, but just D execution, where Malekith and Thor just start fighting through various portals in multiple worlds, which is fun. But here's what really makes me mad: when all the humans are running around getting shot at, the editing in that is so bad, especially when it comes to Natalie Portman and Selvig. Oh my lord. He literally, like, yells, "Jane, look out!" And you see the clip and it's just like him just calmly standing there. Like, it doesn't correlate.
No.
They did this I expect this in a bad direct-to-DVD movie. Not an MCU bunch of money budget. Marvel. What happened with this movie? It is just... Oh, God.
They just didn't care.
Taheg, what do you have to say? You defend this movie.
I said from the start, this film really loses it in the third act, and yeah, like...
How can you defend this?
They've got some really great ideas, they just don't utilize any of them. Like, the concept of one of the greatest sorcerers in the Nine Realms fighting the god of thunder while jumping through portals between different realities. Like, that is gold. And what we actually got was lots of pictures of them falling through portals and then Mjolnir changing directions in space and flying around. They never actually... We barely see them hit each other. We don't really see Malekith do anything. It's like, there's a long history of Marvel films having slightly shit final fights. But this is probably the worst. The only part of that whole final catastrophe that I genuinely enjoy and makes me laugh every single time is they kind of finally all meet it and they're like, Thor, Jane, Selvig, Darcy, and then Mjolnir first part goes, meh, meh. That makes me laugh every single time.
Oh, you mean when Darcy says that? Yeah, that's funny.
Fuck off.
It's like...
And yeah, the least believable part of this whole film is really, kind of factually a clusterfuck. But the part of this film that is categorically incorrect. If anyone, even the God of Thunder, walked onto a tube train and asked where they need to get off, the only reply would be stone cold silence. No one fucking looks up from their phones. You do not answer any question asked on the tube, especially if that question is, got any change, mate? The only answer is, I'm sorry, I'm pretending I can't hear you. As I read the metro or scroll through my phone.
So the bad editing and just dumb shit that happens doesn't offend you, but that does.
Damn right. No, the editing does. But that is the worst part for me. It's realistic.
Oh my god.
Clear no one writing this film was British, or they would know that just doesn't fucking happen.
It's like when men go to the toilet, it's just like no one talks at all.
Exactly. You have two options. You can walk in, eyes straight fucking down, look at what you're doing, wash your hands, and leave. Or you can go into a stall, do whatever you want in there, but don't say it, and then leave.
Oh my lord. So... Oh my god, so they battle through various portals, and they're just, like, flipping around, and they don't really do much. Like, this fight is so like, it's very creative conceptually, but just when it's executed, it is so bad. It's all about the execution.
The worst part is, like, the final moments... It's actually pretty fucking hype. Like, Mjolnir's been bouncing around doing fuck all for the whole fight, and then you get, like, the final threat, Thor kind of jumps in, he's flying through the air. As the Mjolnir flies in, he grabs it and smacks him. Like, if that had been the conclusion of an actually good fight, that would be a great ending. But it's too little too late.
Yeah.
So... Then we just get one of the most underwhelming endings to a fight, where Thor is about to get, like, crushed by a ship. He randomly tears Malekith's arm off, and then he, like, sends him back into like, some other place, and he gets crushed to death by a ship. Just, there you go. They're flipping the bird at you, by the way, and they're basically giving you shit. And then saying thank you for it. Again, Taheg, I don't know how you defend this.
That part I can't. Like, it's the most underwhelming fight in existence. There is no, like, I'm pretty sure even the writers are like, yeah, by that point, the coke had run out and we just couldn't give a shit anymore. We just wanted to wrap the film up and get the hell out.
It's like, think what Malekith did in the comics. I haven't even read too much of the Thor Jason Aaron run, but in the Jason Aaron, I bet you that Jason Aaron saw this just atrocity, how they treated Malekith, and he's like, I'm gonna have Malekith do just the most ridiculous shit. I'm gonna have him get everybody, and it's gonna be a big battle. Because he literally in the comics gets like he gets basically everybody who hates Asgard for one reason or another for like a big gigantic battle.
Everybody.
He literally gets everybody.
He literally takes over Earth. He divides that shit up like cake and gives parts away to all his mates. Like, he fucking takes over all of Earth.
There is none of that audacity in this film.
Nope, but not in this film. Nope.
He just, like, wants to take over the world or some bullshit like that.
It's just like, wait. And that's all that Malekith does in this film.
Jacob, you look so fucking gone right now.
Honestly, just talking about this film, even being high, I'm just like kind of tired. Dark World. Just thinking about whatever the fuck his name is. Oh, the elf villain. Yeah, that's how forgettable Malekith is.
Oh
and
my lord.
Badass Thor villains, and they just fucked him over.
All right.
Ass dry, no lube, not even like a little spittle, nothing like that.
Not even a hug afterwards.
Yep.
So then we get to the end of this film, and here's just another, just made me mad. They have the same conversation they did in the first movie. It is just, you should have the throne. Oh, I don't deserve it, Dad. That's the end of the movie. Oh, wait, hold on. There's a twist this time. There's a twist. Because Loki, who was dead, turns out he was alive the whole time. Plot twist. M. Night Shyamalan would be ejaculating himself right now. He would be ejaculating right now. But here's the thing that really gets me mad. He transforms as Thor is walking away. Like, back to the crappy editing. Was he just walking down and he just transforms back into Loki and he's like, haha, you see, brother. And then that he just didn't bother to turn around.
Guess he was too tired. I don't know.
He was just too busy thinking about that foster pussy. He was gone.
And that's the end of the movie.
I'm just gonna grow my eyebrows, okay? Yeah. Loki. You're alive.
It is vaguely hilarious that the only scene in this whole film where Odin isn't a total tool is because it's not Odin.
Oh yeah, earlier when that guy shows up to tell Odin about what happened to Loki, I'm like, yo, that's totally Loki. Like, it is so
you
Loki.
Literally see, like, you see a green flash. It cuts to the Dark World. You see a bit of green energy, and then you see this mysterious Asgardian, extra who walks up to Odin and is like, oh yeah, that Loki one, he's totally dead. And then it cuts away. Like,
oh my god, it couldn't be more obvious.
It's foreshadowing the ending, but just not very well.
Oh my god. So, okay. I actually was I was so kind of underwhelmed that I didn't even watch the mid-credits scene. So, sorry about that.
I forgot what the mid-credit scene was.
Volstagg and Sif visit Benicio del Toro and give him the Tesseract.
Yes.
The introduction of the Collector.
Oh yeah, he gets done dirty too. Like he gets blown up and then Thanos kills him.
There you go. Wasted.
So he's like,
he's the Collector. He'll be back. He's harder to kill than you'd expect.
Yeah.
So he has 2 Infinity Stones. He tells him that 2 Infinity Stones so close together would be unwise. And then he says that he wants the other 5 stones for whatever fucking reason. Because,
For the same reason anyone wants all the stones.
To eradicate half the world? To eradicate the world's population?
He wants. He's the Collector. It's in his name. He wants to collect things.
Yeah.
So...
It's his mission statement.
So, on the meanwhile, Foster and Thor reunite on Earth, which is funny because I just read that apparently Portman couldn't be there that day, so Chris Hemsworth's actual wife in real life stood in for Jane Foster. I guess Natalie Portman just couldn't take it anymore.
She's like, I did my part.
She's like, I did my part. Fuck you!
It has come back. Sorry.
Oh my god. So, meanwhile, somewhere in London, I forgot to mention they accidentally brought a frost monster from Jotunheim. And it's like continuing to run amok, and that's the end of the movie, and you're just like, ugh.
Movie still sucks.
Yep, I'm still underwhelmed by it.
I will say, I don't think it's the worst MCU film, strangely enough. I think it's a tad bit better on rewatch. I think the action is more confidently helmed than the first one.
Absolutely.
There are no Dutch angles. But the thing I hate most about it is just how boring it is. It's just so boring. Has very little personality. The writing is abysmal. The dialogue is absolutely abysmal for the most part. It just seemed like they didn't care, especially in the third act. They just said like, fuck it. Overall, definitely one of the MCU's worst films. but I wouldn't say it is the worst. Which, shockingly enough, I didn't think I ever say that.
That's because they've released some absolute shit since this came out.
I used to think this film is the worst MCU film. Do I still think that? I think Captain Marvel kind of beats it, but, you know, I'm not gonna... I think Captain Marvel beats it, but, yeah, this one's still one of the weaker ones. This film is just...
You've seen Black Widow?
And, oh yeah, I did see Black Widow. It was really good up until that third act.
Why does that sound familiar?
Until that third act with...
I think... You know what? No, I say Black Widow and Thor Dark World are about close because they fucking wasted Taskmaster in that film.
They fucking
just like how they wasted Taskmaster.
Such bullshit.
Wasted potential.
Yeah.
I was really hoping for a Winter Soldier type movie. I was really wanting one of those.
But we didn't get it. We just got a generic MCU film.
But yeah, the
thing is, the problems with Dark World are not problems with Dark World. They're recurring problems through the entire fucking MCU.
Yes.
Dark World doesn't do anything in particular that's worse than pretty much any other film, at least of that phase, or really of the first two phases. We see the same problems over and over again. The thing for me that puts Dark World a little bit above there is that at least it's got some good ideas. There's a lot there that could have been great. It just fell into the same holes that all the other early MCU films fall into. Plus, if you compare it to the stuff that came before, at least there's some fucking, with the exception of Avengers, at least there's some fucking stakes there. It's like, oh, Thor 1, if I fuck up, a small village in New Mexico might be destroyed. It's sad for them, but not exactly the worst thing that's ever happened. Yeah. If, Iron Man 1, 2, and 3, if he fucks up, oh no, a rich guy might lose his business. Fucking good. Like in Thor 2, if he hadn't done that, universe as we know it would have been destroyed.
I don't know. I don't think
there's some fucking stakes
in terms of stakes. You can't beat the Avengers. You can't beat the Avengers in terms of like stakes.
Yeah, because it's the Avengers. It's got all of them working together. But I'm talking like in phase 1 and 2 solo films, the stakes are all pretty low, and then randomly out of nowhere, Thor shows up and says, "Yo, if I don't kill this bitch, the entirety of life as we know it is going to end, and the universe will be plunged back into darkness." Like, at least they're up in their fucking game a bit. Like, oh, Captain America 1, World War 2, but with magic. Captain America 2,
don't you talk shit about
Cold
First
War,
Avenger.
but with sort of super soldiers. Captain America 3, it's literally Civil War. It's right there in the title.
Except it's way better than the original comic, though. That's my hot take for the day.
Which was Civil War?
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Oh, that Taheg doesn't even disagree. He's like, yep, you're right.
I mean, it's like Civil War is the problem with Civil War comic. It's the same problem with a lot of the kind of big events from that era. Well, and actually now, to be fair, they're just so bloated. Like, Civil War, the core part of Civil War is really strong. But there's like 500 other tangentially connected comics.
The Spider-Man run.
Sort of feel you have to read, but they're just
the Spider-Man run for the Spider-Man run that was going on concurrent to that with the tie-ins to the Civil War. I actually think it's better than the actual original comic.
The case could be made there. Well, I maintain that Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 tells the Civil War story better than the Civil War comics.
I agree.
Or the Civil War film.
I agree. That's a conversation for another time, but yes, that's my take.
Ultimate Alliance 2 is a fucking banger, and as far as Marvel games go, has not been equaled. End of discussion.
It's like they gave the characters more cohesive reasons in that movie for why they turn against each other, and it again, written by the same guys who did this movie. Marcus and McFeely. They end up right.
Civil War was the Russo brothers.
No, they directed the movie. These guys wrote the.
Oh, they didn't write it. Okay.
But
wow.
Then they came out with the best MCU movie of all time, in my opinion, and that is The Winter Soldier. Because that movie fucking slapped.
Winter fucking Soldier. What a film!
I can't wait till we do a Captain America a-thon. We'll be sure to get Taheg on for Winter Soldier. Or we'll have a whole fucking party.
The Civil War movie is that they try and make it a bit kind of less clear who's in the right, whereas in the comics, it's clear from the start that Tony is a colossal douchebag, and he is absolutely in the right.
Yeah, he turns into just a huge douchebag.
Jay's ego can't take it. They have to try and make him seem a little bit like he's in the right in this one, even though he's fucking not.
Yeah.
Oh my lord. So, is this the worst MCU film ever? I'll be nice and just say no, it's not. It's one of the MCU movies that I would say that I don't like. That's for sure. But I had more fun with it this time. I'll put it that way. Ragnarok is a way better movie than this one. I'll put it that way. By a country mile.
I had my issues with Ragnarok, but on the whole, it's far, far better executed than this. Is this not written by the same people?
I don't think so. Or, well, no. Christopher Yost helped write this movie, and he wrote Ragnarok. Or he helped, he co-wrote Ragnarok.
With who?
This dude named Craig Kyle and Eric Pearson. I've never heard of any of these guys. Oh, Eric Pearson helped with Black Widow, which, you know, ooh.
Everything.
Yeah.
Ooh. And Craig Kyle, who helped with all of the Thor movies. So there you go. I will say, like, when I read the Thor when I read, like, the God Butcher arc, and I watched, Ragnarok, I think, they finally took from good Thor comics. Like, it feels like a Thor comic, finally. Just, ugh. Except it's not as heavy as, you know, the God Butcher arc is.
Yeah.
God Butcher arc is pretty deep.
Yeah, and then some.
Oh my god. Alright, Thor the Dark World. Oh my good lord. What a movie.
Taken is conceptually strong, it's just the execution is a little lacking. And given how those problems affect the universe as a whole, you can't really just hold it against Dark World.
You know, what is it we always say, Jacob?
It's all about execution.
Yeah. Oh
Definite
my lord.
T-shirt. I think our number one seller would be I don't know if I'd go that far. And then number two would be It's All About Execution.
And then 3 would be a riveting indie with suspense, or from The Fanatic.
Yeah. He really meant that.
Oh my god. So, oh man. So we're gonna be doing Thor Ragnarok next week, but yeah. So, oh lord. I know it's super late where you're at, Tyke.
It is, yes.
I don't know if we should just end it here. If you
Probably for the best, yeah.
All right.
Quite a busy day tomorrow.
All
I'm
right.
pretty on it right now, so.
I was about to be like, I was about to say I probably don't think we'll have enough time to talk about some other stuff, but I don't know. I had enough fun talking about Dark World though. So,
Yeah.
Ty, thank you for taking the time. It's like what I don't know what time. It's almost like 1 a.m. over there, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh my god.
That's my bedtime.
But yeah, we're gonna be talking about Thor Ragnarok next week, which is a lot better than this one. Oh boy.
Or as Carlton likes to call it, Ragnarok.
Fuck what he thinks. You know what? Fuck what he thinks. I don't give a shit what he thinks anymore. About Thor Ragnarok.
You gotta add that caveat in.
Anyway. So, yeah. So yeah, we'll be talking about Thor Ragnarok next week. I hope you guys had fun talking about Thor Dark World. I know I did.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fun, yeah.
Oh,
Oh boy. So, it's been Brit and Jake Go to the Movies. I've been Britton.
I've been Jacob.
And Taheg, thanks for coming along once again. And we can't wait to have you on for next week. And hopefully the week after. Because we hope that I hope the stars will align right to where Love and Thunder comes out. And we can talk about that too.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
But yes, thank you for coming on once again. And we hope to have you on next week.
Always a pleasure. I'm sad I couldn't convince you to join the Church of Dark World. But I do think I've at least lessened your hatred for it a little bit.
I will say you have lessened my dislike of it, because, nothing's worse than...
Here is done.
Because, I'll admit, you can't really get much worse than Captain Marvel.
You can't.
I'm definitely going to have Carlton on for that episode, though. When we
that's
do.
going to be a fucking masterpiece. Can't wait.
Hell yeah.
But I think what particularly annoys me about Captain Marvel being such a terrible film is her comic right now is on fucking fire and has been for about 4 years. Kelly Thompson is killing it right now. And I don't understand how they can have such a great comic run and such a low energy, low emotion piece of shit movie.
Exactly.
Like, just get her to write it. She's fantastic. Do it, get it done.
Anyways, so yeah, we're probably going to end it there, but yeah, Carlton, we're going to have you on for the Captain Marvel episode, and next week we'll be talking about Thor Ragnarok, so let's do it! There's a cat. Alright, see y'all later. Alright, yeah, oh boy. Damn it, fuck.